Hey guys, a good morning and very warm welcome to your channel. I'm going to give some guidelines regarding one important article from today's Hindu newspaper. There are many articles, but the topic of the articles are almost overlapping. Either I have discussed earlier, yeah, they are very much popular and not relevant for the exam. So before proceed, I have taken a cut here. The conduct of macroeconomic policy in India in recent years has compromised the principle that its two arms of fiscal and monetary policy must be used in a countervailing manner if aggregate demand is not to be affected. This is a very important article and it points out to one very important aspect of macroeconomic policy, and it says that India's recent macroeconomic policy has either too much emphasis on monetary viewpoint, means monetary policy, while giving too much importance on monetary policy, it has forgotten to compensate that with fiscal policy. If it is giving too much importance on increasing inflation, then gradually, simultaneously, it has forgotten to fill up the space created by inflation using fiscal policy. So this is an important core. It shows that there should be a very combination. There should be a combination of fiscal policy and monetary policy. If it is given importance on monetary policy, then it has to be equally given importance that what space it has to be filled throughout a fiscal policy. Yeah, if it has given importance on monetary policy, then it has to be equally see what are the adverse impacts given by the monetary policy and how they can be eliminated using fiscal policy. An employment-oriented economic policy. This article mainly discusses the RBI's recent target regarding inflation. Inflation target by RBI for controlling economy and its impact. The article says that right from 2013, RBI has used inflation target as the only instrument to control the money market, and the article tries to explore the impact of this inflation targeting instrument by RBI. Macroeconomic policy is the keyword of the article. When we say macroeconomic policy, we have to keep notice what is macroeconomic policy. Macroeconomic policy has two aspects: fiscal policy and monetary policy. It is very important from exam point of view to know the distinction of fiscal policy and monetary policy. While fiscal policy is determined by government, it aims at long-term policy perspectives. It determines economic activities of the country. Monetary policy is determined by RBI. It aims at short-term targets of the economy, and its main target is to control the inflation in market. And these are very important. UPSC has asked many questions in pre regarding these two things. Now, thing is that before understanding the article, you have to first understand monetary policy. Then you have to also understand what is inflation and the relationship between inflation and investment. When inflation increases, it is good for the economy because it expands the market. But we cannot let the inflation to go out of the market and go out of the pocket. That means limited inflation, controlled inflation is necessary. Because if inflation gets too high, then normal people will lose the purchasing power of money. When purchasing power of money will be lost, then economy will be downturn. That's why controlling inflation is a very much necessary so that it boosts economy. It should not be left to go beyond a limitation so that people lose the purchasing power. And the relationship between inflation and investment or interest rate is very important here. And the article says that since 2013, RBI has targeted the increasing interest rate as one of the monetary instruments while curbing inflation. And it tries to show the possible aspects of such kind of monetary instrument taken by RBI. It is evident from the article that while curbing inflation to control inflation, RBI has repeatedly used the instrument, and that is to enhance interest rate, means to curb high rate of inflation. To control high rate of inflation, RBI has enhanced the interest rate repeatedly. And here one important thing you have to understand it, what is the relationship between inflation and interest rate. Why high in you might find in questions in prelims that if inflation rises, then what will be its impact on interest rate. You have to understand this interplays between inflation and interest rate to face any question. You have to understand the article better way. But while enhancing interest rate somehow goes for curbing inflation, but in the long run it threats to fiscal stability of the country, because enhanced interest rate has adverse impacts because it creates low demand, low investment, and low capital formation, and all these leads to low employment as well as other macroeconomic instability. So here the article, the main core idea of the article is that though for controlling inflation, interest rate and enhanced interest rate is sometimes good, but using the repeated enhancing of interest rate is not always good, because it has some collateral damages which ultimately damages the economy of a country. And that is why if any damage is done by this kind of monetary policy, it has to be fulfilled by fiscal policy, which I have mentioned in the code. That means government must have to fulfill the space left by inflation, left by monetary policy. While monetary policy is targeting inflation, targeting interest rate, to fulfill this, government has to determine some fiscal policies on the other hand, which creates more investment, more capital formation, and more demand. And that is why you might find a question in pre that there should be always a good relation, there should be always an interlink between fiscal policy and monetary policy. Overcoming one by another might pose threat to the economy of a country. The fiscal policy and monetary policy must have to be countervailing, means must have to be compensated. If anyone creates if anyone creates more damage, partial damage to the economy, then it must have to be fulfilled by the another policy. There should be always a stable and countervailing relationship between fiscal policy and monetary policy. This is the main question for you have to practice, and this is the core of the article which you have to understand. Besides this, the article mentions some aspects regarding MNREGA, that how we can create MNREGA more productive. You can easily recover the points from your article, I think. So this is the core of the article. I hope you understand this article is important for both pre and mains perspective. Here there are various notions which you have to understand to face question in pre as well as mains exam.